Again, our game was all about combat. That's how we introduced it. That's how we talked about it the first time. It's what we told people we were delivering. So it was the most important thing. So you literally, you spend every last second making it better in whatever possible way.
If we had $10, if we had $10 to make the game, 8 of it was meant to, actually 8 of it was devoted to combat, pretty much.
And as far as how it's so many different things, but like one of the philosophies throughout was our systems guys, Peter in particular, was kind of his mantra was every single thing you do is meaningful, like from a progression perspective. So there's nothing, Doom is not a confusing game to play from I don't know which thing to take. I mean, everything you do, whether it's, crushing an Argent cell or going up to a mod bot and getting a mod or upgrading your suit, everything you do, getting a rune, makes a significant difference. All of our upgrades are 25% or more of whatever you have.
A mod on a weapon is basically a new weapon.
And I think that all of those things come together in the consistency of that, just like these big steps. You're not going up this little ramp. You're taking this big step.
There aren't multiple paths either. All of it, there's one path. It's like a stairway to being a badass. Like, there isn't well, I'll go this way and I'll be a different type of character, and if I took this branch, I'd be. It's like, no, you're gonna be a badass.
Just moving forward.
Yeah. Right. That's really it. I mean, by the end of the game, we wanted to turn you into effectively a god, and we kind of had a mission statement very early on that was, that included the statement that you're hell's worst nightmare, and that, I mean, just even that, like, that guides a lot of decisions, because when you're basically saying there's this entire world full of demons, like the most fiercest, ferocious, persistent beings ever, and you are their nightmare, and you become their nightmare. I mean, that's just like you ratchet that stuff up and turn you into a god.
I thought also little things, because it's a good question. And there's, like Marty said, a million things, and we did it right up into the end. There's no one silver bullet that does it, you know what I mean? I think it's a series. If the team's working together, everybody's on the same page, and we're all pointing towards trying to make the player feel like Hellsworth Nightmare, or really create this awesome power fantasy, then you'll get there. Something like the idea that, in a lot of games, especially, let's take Doom 3 for example, I think you're on your heels, a lot of the game. You're like this, you're jumping back, there's jump scares. Some people criticize Doom 2016 as not having enough horror. In order to have horror, I have to feel vulnerable. There is no horror without me feeling vulnerable and on my heels. The Doom Marine is never on his heels. He's always on his toes. He puts other people on his heels, You have to make creative sacrifices where you are going to make certain people unhappy with that. You know what I mean? We can't have jump scares, because would there be, if you're playing a game as Conan, would you have jump scares? You know what I mean? Or the Terminator? It's like, no,
Well, and you need to be slow too. I mean, to kind of have that.
Absolutely.
That vulnerability comes from, our third pillar. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's weird.
Yeah.
Our our third fundamental thing. When you look at the game, is guns, demons, and movement, fast movement. Moving it however fast, 100 miles an hour that you move through this game, you're not vulnerable. You're not going to get a jump scare when you're just through the world. So once we made some of those decisions, it was like you're all in on those kinds of things.
You in the beginning of the game, even the little things that people say to you, and we talked about this in the no clip thing of how she just says offhand, we have to contain this, he could ruin everything. I mean, that's someone saying that about you, the player. It's like, wow, I'm a big deal, And then as soon as you get out there, I think the Gore Nest is a good example of why you kind of feel like a badass, because in most games, the Gore Nest would be something that the player avoids, and if you fuck up, then all the bad guys come. The zombies come running in, right? Total opposite. I mean, it's like going in a zombie game, and you walk up to the car, and you hit the car alarm, and they all come flying out of the buildings, and you're just like, sweet. This is all I want. Like, I mean, it takes a certain kind of badass to behave that way, you know, to bring in the horde. And we thought that just little choices like that that I think kind of I mean, I love when brands and games and movies do this, but like indirectly, subconsciously are stroking your ego and getting you to feel the way we want you to feel, as opposed to the more direct, and sometimes you do this, but the more direct way of being like, hey, you're badass, you know, right. Like, I mean, you could do that too, but like the little design choice of the gore nest being something that I activate as opposed to it being triggered when I get near it, just kind of subconsciously, indirectly says you are one bad dude looking for a fight, you know, that's and to Marty's point too, it's like just how fast you are. I mean, that's tremendous. There are a lot of we didn't allow anything to stand in the way from you feeling as powerful as possible. You might make certain concessions in a game to allow room for another player. You know what I mean, or multiple players. Like, hey, I'm the sniper guy. I got long range capabilities, but I'm not too good at short range, and my melee ability is not that great. The Doom Marine is like, you know, a full battalion. You know, he's everything. He's everything he needs. We don't need a tank in Doom. He is a tank. You know, like or vehicles and things like that. So I think that type of commitment was really good. And then the little bit of if you did take the time to read codex entries and stuff like that, or listen to a Slayer's Testament again, it's just more people talking about you like you're a god. So you're acting like a god in the game. There are design choices that are built to make you feel like a god. And if you take the time to read story or pay attention to it, you're hearing about how badass you are. So every 5 minutes, we're basically, not even 5 minutes, I'd say every second, we are making you feel like a badass.
A good example of the second thing is even like, and the subtlety is even like glory kills. You know, every glory kill has a moment in it where, even if it's just a frame of animation or 5 frames of animation, like the demon looks visibly in pain, scared, you know, so at your moments where you are the closest to the demons and have put them in their most vulnerable position, you are absolutely creating fear, you know, in their eyes, and you know, they're like, I mean, like full up scream, oh my God, I'm gonna die, and that, I mean, I don't know that most players actually would call that out as a moment, but you know, but it was, and it really did guide everything. Like if we put something in the game, and we put a lot of stuff in the game that made you not feel like a badass, and as soon as it was in there, it just, and the further we got into the game, it became more and more clear that you know, we put a guy talking in your ear at one point just to kind of give you some directions and stuff like that, and it was just like, that does not make me feel like a badass. So out it went.